Welcome to the class of Comparative Anatomy. In today's class, we will talk about the comparative anatomy of animals. In particular, we will try to learn about the comparative anatomy of kidney and heart. But before going into the detail of that, do you know what is comparative anatomy? Why do we need to study the comparative anatomy? Comparative anatomy is the study of similarities and differences in the anatomy of different species. For example, we try to study the similarities and differences between the bones and the skeleton of different vertebrates. An interesting fact to know is that the number of bones in our neck is similar to that of giraffe's neck, that is 7. Study of this type of interesting facts is known as comparative anatomy. Comparative anatomy has long served as evidence for evolution. It indicates that various organisms share a common ancestor. A common example of comparative anatomy is the similar bone structure in forelimbs of cats, whales, bats and humans. Now let's start with the first subcomponent of our today's class, that is comparative anatomy of kidney. Kidney is the most important component of the excretory system. The excretory system has its own specialized structures and functions. Control of the salt and water content and elimination of metabolic waste products from our body is taken care by the excretory system. The end products of metabolism include carbon dioxide, ammonia, urea, uric acid, creatinine, pigments and inorganic salts. The elimination of carbon dioxide is taken care by the respiratory system. Rest of the excretory products are eliminated by our excretory system. I am sure you must have studied that kidney is the specialized organ of our body that is primarily associated with nitrogenous waste removal and osmoregulation. But can you imagine how kidney evolved? Kidney evolved as a structure that was present in each segment, just like the nephridium of earthworms. Just like invertebrate nephridium, it had a tubule open at one end into the coelom by a nephrostome and at the other end into a common archinephric duct. The ancestral kidney is called as archinephros. Archi means ancient and nephros means related to kidney. Hence, archinephrons means ancient kidney. This type of kidney is still observed in hagfishes. Kidney of living vertebrates developed from a primitive plan. During embryonic development of amniotic vertebrates, there is a succession of 3 developmental stages of kidney, that is pronephros, mesonephros and metanephros. And similar is the case for phylogenetic development of kidney. I am sure you must have learned about that statement that ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. So now let's learn how this complex excretory system evolved in different group of vertebrates. Kidney is absent in Protochordata. For excretion, different type of organs are used in protochordates. For example, Belagnoglossus have glomerulus, Ascidians are having pyloric glands, renal vesicles and neural glands. Similarly, Amphioxuses have solenocytes for excretion. In higher groups, the main excretory system of vertebrate is kidney. A pair of kidney is present in every vertebrate lying dorsal to the coelom in trunk region, one or either side of dorsal aorta. They are all built in accordance with a basic pattern. Let's learn this basic pattern of vertebrate kidney. Basic structure of vertebrate kidney. The structural and functional unit of a vertebrate kidney is a nephron. Every vertebrate kidney has a basic structure. As for example, each kidney is composed of a large number of units called as nephrons. Their number, complexity and arrangement differ in different group of vertebrates. Now let's learn different parts of this nephron. A nephron is differentiated into three basic parts, that is peritoneal funnel, Malpighian body and the tubule. First, peritoneal funnel. Near the free end of a uriniferous tubule is a funnel-like ciliated structure called as peritoneal funnel. It opens into the coelom by a wide aperture called as nephrostome. Nephrostomes are usually confined to embryos and leave considered vestiges of hypothetical primitive kidney. Second, Malpighian bodies. Bowman's capsule and enclosed glomerulus together form a renal corpuscles or Malpighian bodies. Bowman's capsule. A tubule begins as a blind cup-like hollow double-walled Bowman's capsule. Glomerulus. It encloses a tuft of blood capillaries called as glomerulus. It is supplied blood by a branch of renal artery called as efferent glomerular arteriole. An efferent glomerular arteriole emerges out of this glomerulus to join the capillary network surrounding the tubule. Capsule without glomeruli are termed as aglomerular and such are found in embryos, larvae of vertebrates and some of the fishes. Nephric tubules. At one end, the kidney tubule originates at a Bowman's capsule and its walls are continuous with the outer wall of the capsule. The tubule may elongate and coil at the other end to open into a kidney duct called as the longitudinal duct. Now let's understand the functions of the nephron and its components. Peritoneal funnel helps draining waste from the coelomic fluid into the Malpighian bodies. This Malpighian bodies filter water, salts and other substances from the blood into the filtrate. During passage through the nephric tubules, more substances are secreted into the filtrate while the important substances are reabsorbed. However, though this basic pattern is seen in all the vertebrate kidneys, they advance along with the increase in the complexity of higher vertebrates. Kidney evolved in primitive freshwater vertebrates to excrete out excess water that was entering into the body due to osmosis. Later, kidneys also acquired the function of removing the nitrogenous waste materials from the body. In invertebrates and also in hagfishes, the body fluids are isotonic to the seawater and hence they do not have the problem of osmoregulation. Compared to this, cartilaginous fishes and also coelacanths retain considerable amount of urea in their blood, so that the blood is isomolar to seawater and osmotic problems are avoided. It is believed that kidneys in all modern vertebrates evolved from a hypothetical kidney known as archinephros or holonephros, which extended from anterior to the posterior end of the body with segmentally arranged glomeruli and nephrostomes. This glomeruli received blood from the dorsal aorta and filtered the nitrogenous waste into the coelom, from where they were collected by the nephrostome and transported to outside via the collecting ducts and archinephric ducts. Such kidneys resemble segmentally arranged nephridia of annelids, and they can still be observed in the larvae of hagfishes and apodons. The English embryologist Balfour suggests that 3 types of kidneys are found in modern vertebrates. They are pronephros, mesonephros and metanephros, evolved from the anterior, middle and posterior regions of archinephros. Now, let us talk about the pronephros. It is also called as the head kidney because of its location in the anterior region of the body, and it is still a functional kidney in myxine and some of the primitive teleost organisms. It has very few, that is 3 to 15 collecting tubules, each with a nephrostome that collects waste material from a single glomus. Pronephros becomes lymphoid in function in higher vertebrates. Now, let us talk about the mesonephros. It is also called as the Wolffian body. Mesonephros is the functional kidney of larvae as well as the adults of fish and amphibian, and it is also the functional kidney in embryonic stages of amniotes, that is reptiles, birds and mammals. The number of uriniferous tubules increase to thousands and glomeruli are enclosed in a cup-like Bowman's capsule. The later two together are called as renal corpuscles or Malpighian body. In addition, there is also a nephrostome attached to the collecting tubule, which all meet the mesonephric duct that carries the weights to the outside. Nephrostomes disappear in most of the higher elasmobranchs, teleost and amphibians. In sharks and urodeles, mesonephros is elongated kidney that extends up to the posterior end of the body and hence also called as opisthonephros. Now, let us talk about the metanephros. Metanephros occurs in the adult reptiles, birds and mammals. Reptilian kidney is elongated, more so in snakes where the body lumen available is narrow and long. Bird kidney is trilobed while mammalian kidney is bean shaped with a depressed area at the junction of the ureter. Kidney is enclosed in a protective tunic that is made up of fibrous and adipose layers. Kidney tissue is divided into outer cortex that carries renal corpuscles and convoluted tubules and inner medulla which houses collecting ducts and loop of Henle. The number of nephrons, that is uriniferous tubules plus renal corpuscles, runs into millions, thereby increasing the efficiency of the kidney to extraordinary levels. In mammals, renal arteries bring blood to the kidneys and renal veins take it away, but in reptiles and birds they have a well developed renal portal system. Uriniferous tubules of mammals carries a loop of Henle that is designed to reabsorb almost of all water from the filtrate by counter current mechanism. Reptiles do not have loop of Henle and birds have a reduced one. Both groups, being uricotelic, do not excrete much water anyway. That was about the comparative anatomy of kidney and excretory system. Now, let us talk about the comparative anatomy of our heart. Comparative anatomy of vertebrate heart. But before that, do you know what is heart? The heart is a hollow muscle pump that pumps blood through the blood vessels by repeated rhythmic contractions. It is the most important component of a circulatory system. Primitive vertebrate heart evolved as a muscular pump in the specialized region in the circulatory system. This type of heart-like structures are also observed in case of present day invertebrates like earthworm. Now let's study the heart of different vertebrate group in detail. Cartilaginous fishes. They have a single circuit circulatory system with a heart that is having 4 chambers, that is sinus venosus, atrium, ventricle and conus arteriosus. The sinus venosus receives blood from the body and it is filled by suction. When the ventricle contracts, it enlarges the pericardial cavity and pumps the blood into the atrium. The atrium is a thin walled muscular sac. An atrioventricular valve regulates the flow between ventricle and atrium. The ventricle has thick muscular walls. So, when the ventricle contracts, the blood goes into the conus arteriosus. This conus arteriosus leads into the ventral aorta and a series of conal valves in the conus arteriosus prevents the backflow of blood into the atrium. And from the conus arteriosus, the blood goes into the gills where it is oxygenated, and from there it goes into the body. From the body, the blood is again collected back into the sinus venosus. So, this is how single circulation is maintained in the cartilaginous fishes. Now, let us talk about the next group, that is teleost fishes. In teleosts, the heart and the circulation is similar to that of the cartilaginous fishes, except that a bulbous arteriosus, a muscular extension of the ventral aorta, is present rather than conus arteriosus. Now, let us talk about the next subgroup, that is lungfishes and amphibians. In these organisms, modifications are correlated with the presence of lungs and it enables oxygenated blood returning from the lungs to be separated from deoxygenated blood. They have spiral valve in the conus arteriosus of many dipnoans and amphibians. It alternatively blocks and unblocks the entrances to the right and left pulmonary arteries. Due to this, it sends unoxygenated blood to the skin and lungs. In amphibians, there is mixed circulation where oxygenated and deoxygenated blood are mixed in the ventricle. Now, let us talk about the amniotes. In reptiles, the heart is 3-chambered, having a partially divided ventricle. Due to this arrangement, there is partial separation of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, which provides more of oxygenated blood to the head region. Crocodiles are exceptional in the reptiles as they have completely divided ventricle and a fully developed heart with 4 chambers. After this, mammals and birds are having fully developed heart with 4 chambers, that are 2 ventricles and 2 auricles. Due to this, they are having a complete double circulation, where on one side there is complete circulation of deoxygenated blood and on the other side they have complete circulation of oxygenated blood. So, this was about the comparative anatomy of heart and the circulatory system in the vertebrates. Now, let us quickly summarize what we have learned in today's class. Our today's class is aimed at understanding the comparative anatomy of kidney and heart. Kidney is the central organ that plays a key role in excretion and osmoregulation. Scientists believe that vertebrate kidney developed from a primitive structure like that of earthworm Nephridia. In today's class, we learned about 3 basic type of kidneys, that is pronephros, mesonephros and metanephros. We also learned about different excretory mechanism in vertebrates, and we also took a glimpse of process of excretion through kidney. We also talked about different features of kidney. In the next component of our class, we discussed about the comparative anatomy of heart. We also discussed that heart is a muscular pump that maintains blood circulation in our body. In case of invertebrates, the hearts are devoid of any specialized chambers. But in case of vertebrates like fishes, they are having two main chambers, that is ventricle and atria. While in case of amphibians, they have three chambered heart. Reptiles also have three chambered heart, but their ventricle is partially divided. Birds and mammals have fully developed heart with all chambers completely divided, and they have a double circulation. I hope you enjoyed today's class and you are eager to learn more about comparative anatomy of animals. Best of luck, my friends. Thanks for attending this class. Have a nice day.